go. Well, my phone buzzed, so that means yes, it did start to go.
It's exciting.
Very. Okay.
Alright, I don't need to hear the Twitch.
Art.
Just need to see the Twitch.
That's what she said.
Are you a good Twitch or a bad Twitch?
But I'm not a Twitch at all.
But of course you are. I don't know. I don't remember that movie very well.
I don't either. Come on, connect to Alpha Geek. You can do it. Come on. No. Stop recording. Connect. Okay, well, we might not be doing Alpha Geek tonight because it's not connecting.
Well, alright then.
Okay, we'll try this again. Stop that. Off air. I know this is incredibly exciting, podcasting.
Yeah, it is.
Woo!
My pop-out chat worked for the first time ever, so I can get to look at the chat room and Here's the Storm at the same time.
Woo!
Woo!
Good job, John.
Yeah!
Proud of you. Oh, there we go. Now we're going on Alpha Geek. Awesome. Excellent.
Righteous. Alright.
Bossa Nova.
I feel like I'm in a command center. It's like, alright, what's going on with Heroes of the Storm over here? Nazeeba's at the core. Good business. What's over here? Lily's sitting there. Nobody's around her. Oh, there's Sergeant Hammer. There's Ben there. Chat room. Hi, Ro. What's going on, man?
How many monitors do you have?
I've only got one monitor, but I also have a laptop sitting here.
Okay.
Oh, okay. It was the
Then-
laptop that I wasn't sure about.
If somebody texts me, I've got that ready to go. I'm plugged in. I'm ready.
Dude, you're like one step away from jacking into the Matrix.
I'm glad you included the into the Matrix.
Ew. Thanks, John.
Either way, would have been right.
Okay, I guess. That works.
Hey guys, good news. We can capture the shrines.
Oh, man. Oh, geez. Okay, so Ro is listening to us while playing Fallout 4. Does that mean that we need to, like, start some old-timey music or something?
I don't want to set the world on fire. It's like one part old-timey radio, one part like cartoon dog.
And one part really unsure of himself singer.
That would no, not even a part, 100%.
Well, apparently, John, you're replacing Travis.
Sweet. That's the radio guy, right?
I would assume so.
I do a lot of streaming on that game, so I don't get to have the radio on all the time, because then I get in trouble.
Yeah, that is kind of a bummer about that stuff.
But he sounds very unsure. He's like, you guys, you like music? Okay, maybe I'll play some, I guess. I don't know.
We have a music. We have many musics.
we have come to the radio station. We got music. We got a lot of music. I don't know.
Hey, John.
Yes.
You know who had some music?
Who?
John Williams.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he was contacted by a man who had a dream for great music, who spared no expense.
Speaking of Ben, I think I know what I would like to do for our holiday episode.
Okay, because I had an idea and I actually kind of started working on it.
Okay.
But
maybe what?
Maybe we'll talk about it off air, so it's a surprise.
Oh, mine doesn't matter. I don't care if people know.
Oh, okay.
Mine was the lazy version. It involved basically zero work.
Okay.
It wasn't the fire thing, which I still love that idea, though.
I don't remember the fire thing.
The fire thing was for us to present for holiday
that's right.
realistic fire, and it would just be a fire sound effect for an hour with a t-shirt ad in the middle of it.
I still think that would be good, though.
It would be good, but we would be the only people who found it funny, probably.
The Azeroth Roundtable Yule log.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
And if you were able to listen to the fire crackle and free use holiday songs in the background for all 45 minutes, then you would get rewarded with a t-shirt ad.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would go back to crackling. No, that wasn't the idea, though. I thought we would just do a Star Wars spoiler cast.
Oh, that could be fun.
Because we will have seen it by then. We don't have to
twice
stream
for me.
it. We can just say, like, we'll just record it, you and me.
Okay.
And then we'll put up a great big Klaxian sound and warn everybody that, like, this will contain spoilers, and then talk about the movie.
Okay. Well, I kind of still want to do maybe what I was thinking, but maybe not now. Because the spoiler cast sounds like fun, because you and I are going to want to talk about Star Wars a ton anyway.
Yes.
So, we could do
We'll
that.
see.
I don't know. What
We'll
do
talk
you guys
about
think?
your idea off the air.
Yeah.
Chat, if you have any idea what you would like us to do for our holiday episode, you can throw out ideas, because we typically do something weird for the holiday or different.
I loved last year's.
Last year's was really good. I don't think we need to try and
No, there's no way we're doing that.
recreate it. Well, also, yeah, it's super late to try and get everybody together for it again, but
Aldron Round Table? Not bad. Not bad.
pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sylvanas looks bored. Wear hats. That's it. That's the only difference.
We don't
We've
even
done
do a
that
show. We just
before
wear
without,
hats.
without it even being a holiday.
Here, John, I'm going to text you my idea.
The only concern I have with streaming the Star Wars spoiler show is that people who show up late and just pop into the stream, and then all of a sudden we're in the thick of it. Because I know a lot of people are seeing it that weekend as opposed to next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I would feel kind of bad if I did that.
Okay, I just texted you my idea.
Okay.
And like I said,
Look
I
at this.
started a little bit on it.
All right. I would do that.
Okay. Cool.
Well, no,
So
I mean
you-
literally I would do that thing.
You're gonna dress up like Sugar Plum Sylvanas.
Yeah.
Well, that's his normal. He doesn't tell anybody
I'm going
that.
to feel very pretty.
I'm pretty.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sugar Plum John, just in time for the holidays.
I want you to do the shirt ad as Sugar Plum John today. Tee-hee.
Wait, I'm gonna just pee in your mouth a little bit. Ah, South Park.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because otherwise people are going to be really confused.
Oh, I
All
got it.
All right. We should do this, right?
Yeah, hold on a second.
You got. Now, a word from our sponsors, brought to you by Ben drinking slowly on camera. It looks that way, though, because I have the exact same thing to drink.
Those are some big cans you got there, man.
That's
she
what
said.
everybody says.
All right. And we are recording again. So, Autumnsbane, whenever you're ready, go ahead and kick us
We
off.
stopped recording at some
Well,
point.
I stopped for a second and then start up again so that I know where the show starts.
Oh,
So I don't have to be all like, okay, listen to a whole bunch, skip, hopefully it's right here, okay, then cut this part out and then listen to it later to put it in the post show and all that.
look at you with all the editing plans.
Yeah, I know. I got plans.
We're gonna win this.
What, the match?
All right.
It's the match. Okay. Anyway, Autumnsbane, whenever you're ready, go ahead and start us off.
This is Autumnsbane of A Worthy Opponent, and you're listening to Azeroth Roundtable.
I like it.
GG, we just won.
I was so afraid I was going to say the name of the wrong podcast at the end there.
You wouldn't be the
Oh,
first if
that
you
would-
did.
That would have been
Really?
the best.
Other people have done that?
Yeah.
Other people have said their show name, and that's my favorite.
Yeah, it's always fun when that happens.
Well,
So
there's
much fun.
another podcast with the name Azeroth in it. I was afraid I was going to blurt that one out.
Oh, there's a lot of them, actually. Like, Azeroth, Azeroth, Azeroth. I mean, that's a fun one. There is Azeroth Time and... I don't know. I'm making stuff up now. But, welcome to Azeroth Roundtable, episode 142. My name is Ben Baumhofer, and with me, as always, is John Jagger and two of himself. But they're
Two of
playing,
me?
But they're playing Heroes of the Storm.
That's right. That's three of me. One of me is doing the show, and one of me is partnered up with the other me's, and we're having a quest, Ben.
What kind of quest, John?
We are after the loftiest of prizes. We are after a vulture mount.
Oh, in WoW?
No, in Heroes of the Storm, because you see, they started Recruit a Friend.
Oh.
And as I have already recruited all my friends, I'm now recruiting myself multiple times. So, over on this screen, we have Lily holding down the fort. Over on this screen directly in front of me, I'm deciding who's going to be playing in the next round. Not that it particularly matters, because they're not actually participating. The answer is Sonya, by the way. And, we're leveling up.
I'm so glad that you're able to do that while we do this.
Multitasking, Ben.
Yeah.
It's the future. It's here now, multiple times at once.
Well, speaking of here now, this week we are joined by Autumnsbane. Welcome to the show, Autumnsbane.
I'm glad to be here. I'm super glad to be here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, first of all, I would like to thank you for actually putting your full, undivided, unmultitasking attention to the episode. That's really nice of you. I appreciate that.
Well, it's the least I could do.
Yep, that's the professional thing to do.
Besides, I don't have two Heroes of the Storm accounts, so...
Let me be clear. Okay, first of all, I am now at 5 Heroes of the Storm accounts. 2 of them are already at 10. It's the other 2 I have to worry about. Second of all, my attention is 100% focused on the show. They're playing themselves.
I know. I just wanted to get that out there so people would understand that if you weren't paying attention or were aloof and just kind of like babbling about something, it's because that's how you are and not because you're actually playing the game.
I'm sorry, what?
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, here's the thing. Yesterday, Celestalon tweeted an article that Blizzard Watch did, all about cookie cutter builds, how they discourage player customization. Our friend Zupercat wrote it up, and it's a great read. I really recommend it. To summarize that really quick, though, it comes down to what the hard data actually says, to what the perception of what people should play say, to this, and I mean it's really interesting. It's really good. There's no way I could sum it up into the point where it actually sounds, like I know what I'm talking about, so I'm not going to try. But check that out. That being said, it kind of brought up something in Raid Chat last night that I was interested in kind of pursuing and talking about, because Autumnsbane, you have been a raider and have been in WoW for quite a while, correct?
Yeah, since like 2 months after launch.
Okay, so definitely you've seen your share of the inside of a raid then.
I have. Just a smattering of heroic bosses, primarily normal, and then obviously flex. But yeah, I'm not so. I have a life that I want to live, so becoming a hardcore heroic raider is not for me. But yeah, I've been in many, I guess. A little in the vanilla, although it's hard to kind of navigate that 40-man stuff.
Yeah.
That wasn't really for me. But once Burning Crusade came out, and you had Nax, not Karazhan. I don't know why I confused those. Karazhan is where I really got my feet wet, and I've been hooked ever since.
I totally understand. That's the same exact story with me. And John, you've been around for a while playing this wonderful game of ours. I know that you did some raiding in Molten Core, kinda.
Oh yeah, I was in Molten Core.
Yeah, I definitely dug more into raiding once Burning Crusade hit, and up to about the midpoint or so of Wrath, and then you've been kind of off and on here and there depending on the expansion and the content and stuff, which is fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty much me.
So, okay, the whole thing that I kind of want to talk about is last night during Raid, we were talking about the cookie cutter builds, and I was a big proponent of now the way that it is, it's so much more customization that there isn't as much of a, hey, take this, hey, take that talent approach. Whereas back in, like, say, Burning Crusade, it was you have to follow this spec or this tree in order to actually be effective, because this talent here, this gives you 3% damage boost for this, and this one does that, and everything like that. Now, there were kind of two sides of the fence on this. Someone in the group said that the old way, there was actually more customization there because, you had a couple extra talent points that you can put in other things. And I think that the tier choices that they have actually give you so much more customization because they all ultimately end up doing something, but you can choose one that goes better with your playstyle. Like, you kind of see where I'm coming from with this?
I see what you're saying. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but I get what you're saying, is that there are fewer options with a bigger impact, which I think was the goal of it. I do want to say to anybody listening, if you kind of started WoW in, what was it, Cataclysm, where they introduced 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever the heck system we're on now is.
Yes.
If you're used to just that, go back and look at old school vanilla or Burning Crusade talent trees. You're going to see something insane because it was a window with 3 vertical panels. You could only put points in one of them at first until you got to a certain point. Then you could put points in the others.
No, that was in Wrath that they actually did that, where they stuck you in a certain talent. Before that, it was willy-nilly whatever you wanted.
So, go back and look at it. It is a maze. Now, that said, it was also a lot. I kind of, to get to what Ben's saying, it was a lot less diverse because as a rogue, we had websites like Shadow Panther where it was, okay, you go to this site, it tells you, here's the gems you need to get, here's the build you need to do, here's exactly where you put your points to maximize your DPS. And nowhere in it did it ever say, it's kind of your choice. Like, those were words you never heard back in the day. It was always, no, this is the build you take, and you do not diverge from this build. And I think a lot of people, if you were a rogue, you probably remember in the days of Naxxramas, killing that first boss over and over again trying to get the dagger that dropped because it had the fastest attack speed of any dagger in the game, and therefore it was a huge DPS increase for you. It was just very restrictive and very difficult to manage, but there were a ton more options.
Okay. Autumnsbane, with your experience in the past and everything, like, where do you come in? Like, are you... okay, well, first of all, I agree that back then you had a lot of choices. As in, there's a lot more places where you can put talents. That I will agree with. But, I mean, were you ever completely locked into what you were doing?
It's, I think even today, you always had your sites. You had your Noxic, you had your Ask Mr. Robot, you had Elitist Jerks, you had somebody telling you, this is what to do, whether we had a gazillion points to spend or just 15. And even now, I mean, just this past two-week period, one of the other hunters in my raid said, oh, you use Stampede. I said, oh, I've been using Murder of Crows. Says, well, the numbers say Stampede's better. So I switched to Stampede, and it wasn't better. I said, you know what? We're doing a lot of trash here. We're doing a lot of ads. I just put my Murder of Crows on an ad. As soon as it dies, it resets, and I can use it over and over again. So I'm finding that the Murder of Crows was better for my play style and the fights we were in. We're on Arkham now. We got them down past 10% last week, so we should kill them this week, I hope. But but the numbers said, oh, but you should be using Stampede. And so I don't always agree with the numbers, because if you have a particular play style and you're more comfortable with it, you probably are doing better than those theoretical numbers anyway. But I don't think we'll ever escape the cookie cutter. I think the cookie cutter is always going to be there. People like, no, I do a Hearthstone podcast. They do the same thing with Hearthstone. They go and copy everybody else's decks instead of making their own. The same thing with WoW. It's like everybody wants somebody to tell them what to do. What's the best? What should I do? Instead of just playing the way that's the benefit to being in a casual raid team. We can do what we want to do. You know, we don't have somebody saying you must play this spec, you must take this talent. But I don't think we're going to escape the cookie cutters, even in Legion when they said they really want to get away from that.
Yeah, I mean, so the talent trees for Legion are wildly different than what we're used to now. It's not, this tier is the movement tier, and this tier is the defensive tier. This tier has stuff in it, and this tier also has stuff in it. So you're actually making, I would say, harder decisions at that point versus, it's like, okay, do I want blazing speed? Do I want a double blink? Do I want this? I don't know. It's one of those things where customization and everything is something that I've always pushed for, but I don't know if I'm actually looking at it the same way as other people, because, John, you and I have talked about a lot, transmog is big to us because it sets us apart.
Right.
I talk about one thing that'd be neat is if you can add or change or vary your spell effects, or, make different colors or something like that. Titles are a big thing. Is the actual talent tree really the best place for more customization?
I think it's a good place for it, and I think what Blizzard is doing smart in Legion, and I think this has always been the first step they needed to take to not get rid of cookie cutter builds, but to help alleviate a lot of the problems with them, and that is the ability to on the fly change talents when you want. Part of what made builds so important was that changing them was a pain in the butt, and you either had to have mats or you had to go back to town at certain points in the game. There's always been this big hurdle. If there's a proven build that's effective against the boss and the guild says, or the raid team says, hey, we really need you to take this for this fight because it is better, it is a DPS increase. They're telling you right now to take a cookie cutter build, which initially seems unfun. But when it's as easy as opening up your menu, hitting a button, and then saying, all right, good, got it, let's go, and then the fight ends and you move it right back to what you had before at no cost or issue to you, that's a cool thing. That helps alleviate a lot of the problems with it. Doesn't get rid of it, but it makes it easier to take.
Yeah, I mean, Autumnsbane, back in, BC and vanilla and everything, did you actually change your talents at all?
I tended not to, but there were, depending on what you played, people were doing it all the time. Oh, we lost a healer, Shadow Priest, time for you to change spec. Send me some gold. I don't have enough gold to go respec. And, even now we got people moving in and out of tank spots, moving in and out of healing spots, and the flexes made it nice that people can drop off, but you still have, oh, I don't have a tome on me to change my spec around. So as John was saying, I think in Legion it's going to be awesome where just, our healer just disconnected, somebody has to take over, and boom, you click a button and you're there. I love that.
Yeah, that is something that I did notice, is that you don't need the tomes, and I hate those. I mean, okay, so the funny thing is that even though, I have the ability to change a whole bunch of stuff around, on the fly now, because, I've got a Traveler's Mammoth, so I can actually buy tomes as long as I'm outside.
That's the way I buy mine.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I need some tomes. Usually I've got a stack of 20 or something on me just in case, but I never change my talents around. Back in Siege of Orgrimmar is the only time that I actually did, which is weird because there weren't a whole lot of, changes in the fights on my role. Because, as a mage, I'm doing DPS a whole bunch. You'd think I would do it in this tier since, there's a whole lot of, okay, you've got to move a whole bunch, you got to do this and that. But it just turned into one of those things where, if I'm putting my arcane rune on the ground and stuff, oh, well, this fight sucks because I have to move the whole time. I just change it to something else, which, really worked out better in the long run anyway, so I don't really change now. I mean, there's a difference between changing specs and stuff, but talents, I'm pretty much set where I'm at. I don't know.
I see people changing mostly if it's an AoE versus a single target thing. And the tanks in my group have been changing spec for certain types of threat, or I'm not tanking this expansion, so I don't know what they're doing, but I hear them talking amongst themselves saying, oh, change to this, change to that. So a couple of people do, and they do on a regular basis, but with the exception of the example I gave earlier, I haven't touched my talent tree since I hit 100.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think part of the problem is for so long Blizzard was afraid of the idea of a cookie cutter build. They were so far entrenched in it in the early days of WoW with, like I said, where it was, this is what your build is. And they were so far on one side that when they got away from it and they started trying to, bring the player, not the class mentality started to kick in, and you started to see a lot of homogenization of the classes. Like, these things do the same stuff. I think they got a little worried about cookie cutter builds in a way that went a little perhaps too far. And I don't think Legion's going to get rid of them. I think when you look at what's on the talent trees, I think there's going to be very obvious correct choices if you want to min-max your build. Looking at the rogue, it feels like there are some choices that are just like, absolutely, that is going to be stronger than the other things that are with it. The hope, though, and this is kind of the other side to it, is that we've already talked about the ability to switch on the fly. That's important. The other part is difficulty. They need to address difficulty, because if everybody feels like they're always struggling against the content, that's where the temptation to just go to a website and look up, okay, forget having fun, what is the best build that's going to make this easy enough to get through? That's when people start to fall down that rabbit hole. And I think if they can nail it with normal being at, friends and family level, as we refer to it, heroic being that challenging but not too hard, and mythic being the this is where you go if you want to be the kind of person who min-maxes, if you want to really worry about your build and stuff like that, that's the place for it. That's the place to execute on it. And if they nail that, then I don't think it matters if there are cookie cutter builds or not.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, one of the things they're doing, which I absolutely love, which may take some of the worry about cookie cutter builds away, is every spec is supposed to be different. So I sometimes have 4 or 5 hunters in my group because of the flex situation. And, if you have 3 hunters and all 3 are playing different specs, it's essentially 3 different characters. And they're not sharing talents across all of the rogues or all of the hunters or all of the mages. Each one has their own tree. It's going to be wonderful for making things specialized like people want. Yet at the same time, they say they're reducing the number of spells so that your rotations aren't like calculus. You could just play your character and play those buttons the way you want to. There is so much hope on my part for what Legion is going to turn into and the transformation we're going to see these characters. Because John is right. They went too far by homogenizing, bring the player, not the class, is what they were saying. So, like, okay, all of the healers can do this, and all of the tanks can do that. And people felt less special. If anything's going to make people feel more special again, it's going to be this expansion. At least that's my wish.
I'm kind of with you on that, because the fact that they're really locking you into a spec kind of early on, I think really goes to show that they're doing their best to make everything equal, but different. Because I know that, just playing as a mage with DPS, it's tough when, heck, I said it so many times on the show, I didn't want to play as Arcane. I do not like Arcane. It's not fun to me. Fire is fun. But because it's so RNG based, I didn't have the gear for it and everything, I was not having a good time while I was raiding because, my DPS is so low compared to everybody else's. Frost is kind of, up and down a whole bunch too. It's one of those things where you go with what's popular and what's actually causing more DPS, because otherwise, you can feel like a total scrub or like you're letting your team down and stuff. But the fact that you choose your artifact, you're stuck with it probably for a long time, means that they've really got to do what they can to make it as different but, just as powerful as everything else.
Well, and we've talked about it on this show where we have said, okay, I want to be, for you, a fire mage.
Mm-hmm.
I've said I want to be a combat rogue. I don't want to have to feel forced into another role. And there was a time where we had a discussion because the news coming out of WoW was very much, yeah, we understand some specs are going to be better for some things, you can just switch. And both you and I were very much against that idea because to me the character fantasy, the character class you pick is not I am a rogue. It is I am a outlaw rogue. I'm an assassin rogue. I'm, whatever. You're picking that. And so for you, I'm picking, you're picking a fire mage. Mm-hmm. So for them to say, oh, just switch to ice, that kind of breaks it for me. And for a while, it looked like maybe that was the direction they were going with the game, but they have definitely, with the artifacts and the way we're seeing this game be built, they're going against that. They're saying, no, we want you to pick a spec you like, and we want to make that spec awesome, and we want to make that spec what you want it to be. And then, yeah, maybe you change your talents, but you're changing your talents within that spec, within that same fantasy.
Yeah, and it looks like coming into Legion, there's a lot of variety in those talents, so that it actually does make it more worthwhile, and there's more choices at that point.
And don't forget that they're having a PvP spec that's separate. So all of the balancing issues we've complained about over the years, when they wanted to balance for PvP and it ruined our PvE, that's not going to happen now because you'll have separate sets of specs. And the fact that every spec has its own niche, what is it, 36 or something like that, different classes really, they can tweak individually without having to hurt everyone. I stopped playing my mage when Arcane became all the thing. Yeah, and I said, if I can't play Fire or Frost in a raid, then I'm just not going to ever raid with my mage. And now, if there's one spec that's totally overpowering the others, they could turn a few buttons without affecting the others just to tweak that one up. I think balancing, despite the number of different specs, is now actually going to be easier for them, especially with PvP being its own thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay. Disclaimer, I do not play a warlock. I probably never will. But I would think that is probably one of the classes that's been hit hardest when it comes to PvP versus PvE. Because you throw a dot on something, and, so you're an Affliction lock, or, Ben Affleck, or whatever you want to call it. So you throw dots on stuff, you're keeping the rotation going and everything. To some people, that might not be fun. And if it's incredibly strong in PvP, because I remember in Alterac Valley, there'd just be a warlock just sitting there on the main road. When people would come by, he'd be all ... and then people just keep dying. And then Blizzard would have to tune it down so that people just don't die like that. And then guess what happens in PvE? It's not as effective. So, Autumnsbane, you're totally right. As long as they're able to keep that stuff separate, it will work out incredibly well for the people who are actually just going in trying to raid or do PvE content. And tuning, I mean, as a non-developer whatsoever, I would think would be easier in that sense.
And you have the artifacts that they could tweak too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And what I'm really liking about the artifacts, I know this is an aside, is no longer will we have to worry about which stat do I stack? Because that artifact weapon, at least I sure hope so, is going to have the stat we need for that spec without us having to worry about it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, John, I know that the big thing for you, especially on your Monk last expansion and somewhat this expansion too, is you can have a hugely difference in your DPS night and day depending on if you get a new weapon or not.
Yeah, and I hope, I really hope that artifact weapons stay a thing in this game, even before I've seen them, because there are classes in the game that are so dependent on weapons that to have a weapon right from the get-go that's going to level up with you, that's going to stay relevant constantly, it takes such stress off of you as a damage, as a windwalking monk, as a rogue. Warriors are
warrior.
probably going to benefit from this
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. Like it's so big to have that good weapon right from the get-go, because you can. Right now I'm experiencing it going through playing, getting my rogue kind of caught up to where my monk is. I don't have great weapons, and I feel super weak in that game right now, and almost to the point of it being unplayable in certain parts of Tanan. Like, there's just stuff I can't fight in Tanan right now because my weapons aren't good.
Mm-hmm.
So the artifact is really exciting. I hope it's something that sticks around. I know we all said that with garrisons, which is kind of funny. If you go back and you listen to
Yeah,
us,
we loved them.
yeah.
It's like, oh, this is great. I got people
Oh my
doing
God.
stuff, got money
I
coming
can't
in.
imagine WoW without garrisons. It's why I think that maybe there's going to be probably some stuff that looks a lot like a garrison this expansion, and then I think next expansion you might see it totally gone, because you have to think, by the time they were working on this expansion, it was during the heyday of, this is the best feature they've ever put in the game.
Yeah.
Blizzard's on fire. Blizzard's just doing great work. And it was long before the, oh
Shipyard.
God, please don't ever bring garrisons back. Oh, the shipyard. Which, by the way, can we just say that how great it is that now that everybody's sick of the game and not playing it anymore, they were finally like, maybe that shipyard could use a little work at being fun. And they're tweaking it a little bit. It's still not where it needs to be.
Yeah, I had a 97% failure on a shipyard on a rare mission. I stopped doing shipyard missions at that point.
Oh, the shipyard. Anyway, that's this expansion. We're talking about the future, the exciting, wonderful future that we can look forward to. But I'm curious to see. Like, that's the thing I'm going to be really wondering going into whatever the expansion after Legion is. Is there any trace of Garrison whatsoever, or is that the one where they're officially like, no, we're not touching it anymore?
Garrison, what was that?
We
that
heard
was,
you.
That was so Warlords. Ugh.
But I really hope Artifact sticks around, because the idea of not having to pick up weapons, or even if it was just a case of when you get a weapon drop, you get both main and offhand, like, even that would help a little bit. But I'd rather not have to worry about weapons at all. I really am excited about that feature.
You're so right about that. As soon as I learned about the combat rogue, the outlaw rogue in Legion, I used to play a rogue a lot. I said, oh, I have to level a rogue, because when I switched servers, I wasn't going to switch 10 capped out characters. So I'm starting some from scratch. And I'm now level 82 with this rogue, and I've mostly gone through dungeons with a few quests, and not one dungeon boss has dropped an agility sword. Not one. Thank God for heirlooms.
Yeah.
I've got my heirlooms, and that's fine. I don't need to change my weapons. But you are so right. Like, oh, there's a dagger, there's a mace. Like, where's the agility swords? Oh, they don't exist.
Yeah. So, okay, let me ask you this then. Artifacts are coming in Legion. Yay. I think three of us agree this is great. I'm super happy. I mean, especially me. I hate staffs or staves or whatever you want to call them, like, incredibly so, which I play a caster, so guess what? I get a staff. Whoopity-doo.
Yeah.
But I love
What you get
fire
for picking
mages.
a bad class.
Shut up, John. I love fire mages. So what do I get? I
Get
get
a
a sword
sword.
and an offhand. I picked perfectly.
What is the
Looking forward to
offhand?
that.
The offhand is a thing.
A snow
it's
cone?
like, yeah, it's like a big giant lollipop. It's my fire lollipop.
It's my magic lollipop.
Yeah,
You're going to transmog that, aren't you?
I don't know. We'll see. But okay. So first of all, before we get into what I wanted to say, with my heirloom or artifact weapon, I have like this flaming orb over my shoulder, and I'm like, it's like an ood ball. That's all I can think of every time I see it, and it shoots phoenixes out of it. So that's kind of cool.
Wait a minute. What's this?
For Fire Mage, you get your artifact weapon. You have a little like flaming ball just over your shoulder. It's just hovering there.
Like one of Kael'thas's balls?
Yeah, except it's orangey fire as opposed to green. And the cool thing is you get like 3 stacks, and you hit Pyroblast, and it immediately just shoots a Phoenix out at something, as opposed to it being a cast time for Pyroblast.
Are these like the crystals that the Frost Mages have?
Kinda, but it's just one tiny fireball just floating over your left shoulder. It's pretty cool.
It's weird. There should be 3 of them, though.
There
and
should be.
Really be Kael'thas.
Yeah,
Or 2 if they were Kael'thas's balls.
There is a chance
after the first fight.
Yeah.
He only had 2 after that.
Yeah. But, maybe
one of them broke.
Maybe there will be 3 eventually. I don't know. But
it's just a setback.
Right now there's just 1. Anyways, so artifact weapons coming in Legion, everybody's happy about that. New expansion comes. Do you want a new artifact weapon or to keep the one that you have?
I want a new one, probably.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I'm not necessarily loyal to my artifact weapon. I feel like there are 2 or 3 artifact weapons in the game that are like, oh my god, that maybe you would absolutely like die
Doomhammer,
to keep.
Ashbringer, and
I mean, the Fire Mage sword
and
is
the bow.
technically pretty tied to lore. The bow kind of is too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but some of the others, the Balanced Druid gets the Scythe of Elune. I mean, there's some cool weapons.
Yeah,
there.
that's true. That's a good point. There is some cool stuff in there. Mine I'm not loyal to. I got... it's a cool piratey set of swords like that. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with that. I'm not dissing Blizzard for giving me pirate swords. That makes me very happy. But it's got just the tropiest story of like... they're hungry and you have to kill to feed them. Like, okay, yeah, that and every other fantasy sword that's ever existed in the history of ever that you need to kill to feed. I know how this works. So I don't know, and you just get them from some pirate lady. Like, who cares?
Here,
like,
have some swords.
Like, whatever.
Arr.
It's fine. They do not have weapons in WoW lore that are so famous that they would cover all the classes and specs. Mm-hmm. But, like, unless Windwalker monks get Wolverine's claws, you literally go to the Marvel Universe and you're like, hey, bub, and you take them. Like, it's tough to have stuff that's going to be exciting every single time. So some people got really lucky. Some people got, hopefully they really dig them and dig what they got. But, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting something new because there's no loyalty at all to it. So as long as it's not maces.
When you go along with it in that way, though, what happens with the Retribution Paladins in the next expansion? It's like, screw you, Ashbringer. Hey, look, a new sword!
They're just...
Uther's practice sword.
Yeah. You're just like, well, done with this old thing. Throw it in
That creates
trash.
a problem if they give us new ones. They put all this effort into taking every lore weapon that ever existed for 36 specs or whatever it is, and then they got to do it again in the next expansion.
Okay,
that might be quite the challenge.
Here's the idea. Next expansion, you meet a well-to-do blacksmith. And you rescue him. And he's like, oh, I see. You have an amazingly powerful weapon. But I am the great
Smithini.
And I can make it more powerful. And then he turns it into, like, a better one. So it's Ashbringer 2.0.
The 6-fingered man steals it.
Yeah.
So it's that it's how you get the third upgrade in Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly like that. You a bunch of little gnomes hammer on it for what feels like forever.
Yeah, when you run around and go and do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly like that. You got it. You know.
Well, okay. Would you prefer to get okay, we know your feelings on your personal weapons, John. We get that. not that great.
I like them. No, they're fine.
I like the rapier.
Yeah,
the rapier looks
really cool.
Really cool. I do like the rapier version of it. It's the best.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Yes, please, Ben,
Okay.
continue. I'm waiting for you to ask the question. I'm
No,
going to keep buying time until you do.
Okay, it's fine. Yeah, it's cool.
Just buying some time.
Okay, so you have your artifact weapon. Let's say they don't change it next expansion. Let's say that they make the talent tree even bigger for it or something.
Okay.
If they were to give you, like, say, an artifact cloak, would that be okay? Like, what if they completely take away your need to get certain pieces of gear?
Not a cloak. Yuck.
Okay, a chest piece. Shoes?
Yeah.
Shoulders?
Nose ring?
Here's the problem with WoW. Here's a problem that WoW is facing right now. I think. Maybe nobody else thinks this is a problem, but I do. I don't think that unless they can go into the game and find new ways to model different styles and looks to armor, I don't find any of the armor particularly exciting in WoW. I feel like they have kind of reached a plateau like expansions ago as to what they can show us. I mean, like, it boggled our mind when they started giving us those like pregnant belly belt buckles. It's like, oh, it's a belt buckle that makes it look like I got a little tummy down
the
there.
WWE belts.
Yeah, like, occasionally they'll put out something that looks different and cool, but, like, I've never thought any of the cloaks they've put in the game for players look cool. Sylvanas' cloak looks awesome, but we don't get that.
Because it moves in the wind and it's not just a flat sheet.
It's got its own graphics processor.
Exactly, yeah. You have to upgrade your GPU just to see it. I don't know. I don't think... Like, I look at the new armor models, and it's just like, all right, it looks kind of like the armor they always put out. They found a good way to make the same stuff that they always put out, color code and line up in a way that looks appealing. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like there's been any armor that I've seen for, like, 5 expansions now that has just made me go, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Like,
Okay.
It's all kind of meh.
Hunters, next expansion, get Sylvanas' artifact cloak. Paladins... I'm making stuff up. That's stupid.
Paladins get Uther's book.
Yeah.
Hold on, you're on to something now.
Okay. Mages get Jaina's hair.
They get
just
to pick,
like a strip.
They get to pick 2 different color options for their hair if you're a mage.
And the horde ties it to their belt as a scalp, right?
Oh, no. That's just that. No.
Hey, horde are the good guys.
Yeah.
So then you've got... I don't know what rogues would get. This is the problem. Nobody ever knows what to do with rogues.
They get they get something that you don't see. Just simple as that.
No, they get a new hero class that will make them obsolete again.
Pirate is the new class.
I don't know. I guess to get away from being kind of snarky about my reply, I do think they can do artifact other things. But I don't know if there's anything in the game that's quite as iconic as a weapon.
Yeah.
Like, there are cool-looking models and stuff in the game. I just don't think it has the same impact if they're like, you get an artifact chest piece. Well, all right, fine.
Well, no, it doesn't match everything.
So what? Yeah, exactly. And then there's that problem, too. Like, well, it doesn't look like anything, so... Or they have to make all the armor sets look like it goes with it.
Yeah, that'd be boring. And then everybody would look the same.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I kind of like it just being weapons.
Well, Autumnsbane, are you good if they stick to weapons like for another expansion? Like, do you think it's going to be a feature that's just kind of worn out at that time? I mean, granted, the expansion hasn't even come out yet, but, just future looking here.
Well, at the risk of betting on the same horse as I did with the garrisons, I will say that I think the weapons could forever be something they give us personally. Because, first of all, did you see all the different model variations, the different colors, the different shapes? So no matter what you're wearing, if you're big into transmog, I think you'll find something that works. And you can even mog them into something else if you don't like them at all. They will let us do that. But I think to continue to do that would be an awesome thing because, as John said earlier, finding the right weapon is pretty darn hard. I remember in BC, my mage went and got that, remember that Astro Pop staff?
Oh, yeah.
And everybody went PvP just to get that staff to use it in PvE, at least for a while.
Back when that was a thing.
Yeah, and weapons are just hard to get, and I think giving us a special weapon, our own Stormbringer to carry on forever, would be great, and I would love that.
Well,
Let me give you a less superficial reason why I hope artifact weapons stay around forever. Because everything I've been saying up to this point has been aesthetic. Like, I don't like the way this looks, or I like the way this looks. When we lost our Pandaria Legendary Cloak, and we lost the cool bonus that came from that cloak, I missed it in a way that made me sad. Really sad. Like, I went through cloak withdrawal.
Yeah.
When I stopped getting to do my cool tiger shred, kill everything in front of me move. And I feel like with all these cool bonuses they're adding to the artifact weapons, there's going to be a sense of too much loss if all of a sudden next expansion we just say, well, we're throwing those aside, we're not going to do that again. Like, they either need to find a way to iterate on top of it or to replace it with something. And so that's why I kind of think, like, it can't really go away unless they're planning something radically different for the next expansion. Like, maybe even a bigger overhaul of the combat. And who knows, they could. But it would be very difficult to say goodbye to all these bonuses and cool abilities. It would be the equivalent, and they do this too, of every expansion them saying, oh, that ability you really liked all expansion, we've cut it from the game. It's gone.
I miss my Flame Orb as a
I miss my Snake Trap.
So
wait, they took out Snake Trap? I didn't notice that.
Ages ago, yeah. I think this expansion. Maybe last expansion.
That shows you how much I played my Hunter, but oh man, that is such a great trap, because it's just like, snakes!
Yeah, it
Just
wasn't
everywhere.
very good, but I loved it anyway. But you know what, John, they could build up the talent tree to go past level 110. They can just do what they do for us, add more talents to that same weapon.
Yeah, they absolutely could, and that wouldn't surprise me if they just built it up and said, hey, we're going to just keep expanding on it. Because if you look at it, it focuses on certain abilities. It is kind of narrowly focused what the bonuses are that you get from it. So you can see it saying, okay, well, the next stage of it, now it's going to focus on something else, something different.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm using my legendary cloak again. Great in time walking dungeons.
Yeah.
It's procking all the time, like every 3 seconds it's procking.
That is something that was actually pretty sweet. The fact that we can do that. Imagine when we take our legendaries back, or our art. There's too many different words for too many different things. Okay, imagine when we go with our artifact weapons, our legendary rings, and our legendary cloaks all the way back in there. We walk in and the mobs are just like, no, just done.
They lay down their loot and run.
Oh, that'd be great if... You know what? We need a dungeon where that just happens at one point. Where, like, you bust through this entire first section, and then all of a sudden you show up and there's like, wait, they got through that? And then they just run, dropping gold piles, like, along the way or something. How great would that be?
That would be
We are
great.
getting treasure goblins.
That's true.
Yeah, I heard about that. Is that confirmed, or is that just a rumor?
That is very much confirmed. There are treasure goblins going to be in Azeroth. And I couldn't be more excited, because this is all leading to its inevitable conclusion, which is we all go to the Nexus and play Heroes of the Storm.
So what you're saying is we jump into one of those treasure goblin portals, go to the land of the treasure goblins, hop into another portal, and then we're third person in Heroes of the Storm.
Yep.
So it'll be Heroes of World of Diablo.
Craft.
Yeah. I don't know. There's always been kind of a weird overlap with the game, right? Like the old god, like looking models look an awful lot like the Zerg. There's always been this weird like hint of like, well, maybe it's all happening in roughly the same universe. I don't know. I think it's funny. I think it's a really cool thing. I love the thought, like anytime, and it's probably just the Heroes of the Storm fan in me, but anytime they acknowledge that like sometimes these universes bleed into one another, I get very excited about that. I remember in Diablo you could get a flail in this last patch that was called like Johanna's flail or something like that, and the description was, the legendary crusader Johanna's favorite weapon. She left one day and nobody ever saw her again. It is unclear why she would leave this weapon behind. And it's like this big allusion to the fact that she got pulled into the Nexus and that's where she fights now. And I think stuff like that's super cool. So treasure goblins popping up in WoW, I'm all for it. Even though they're not called treasure goblins, they're called something else, but they're treasure goblins.
My current Diablo character has Thunder Fury. It's like the same weapon, the same graphic. It even has some kind of flavor text that relates to it. So yeah, I love when that happens.
So that means that at some point, Sylvanas is just going to up and disappear and just be gone forever at that point.
Well, theoretically, it could have already happened. I mean, we know she's getting a character model change in the next expansion, and she's wearing her old outfit, so she's probably already been to the Nexus and back at this point.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Let's throw this together as canon. Does she remember her time there?
No, I think this is they all go, they have these fun battles. However that story concludes, it's like, we will now return you to your own time, but your memories of this place and the battles here will be forgotten.
Then she pops back in Undercity and she's Pixie Sylvanas. Or
Yeah, but she's
Snow
got
Fairy Sylvanas or whatever.
She's got a new Valkyr with her that looks vaguely like Kerrigan.
Oh man, if Kerrigan showed up in WoW, oh, I'm getting so excited.
Those wings look a little bony there.
I can't think about this. I'm getting too excited about a thing that'll never happen. But treasure goblins are happening, and that's.
And are they going to be Warcraft goblins, or are they going to be some new race of creature that's a goblin?
No, they're a new race. I think they're. Chat says treasure demon is what they're called. So we wouldn't call him a goblin in Azeroth anyway, because we know what a goblin looks like, and it doesn't look like that. So it's
I wasn't sure if they were going to use one of those Gallywix's minions as a treasure.
Well, technically, aren't all goblins treasure goblins?
Yeah.
Sort of.
So this is something different, and the people of Azeroth were like, what is that? It's not a goblin. It comes through portals. Demon. And
Or
then
mage.
in StarCraft, they'd be like, it's a treasure alien.
I kind of like that. Treasure alien! Of course, now I'm picturing the alien from Alien walking around with the sack on his back, like running away. Ah! Randomly spitting at you. Sorry.
But it melts all the gold.
That's the bummer. You have to kill it fast enough. Sorry, my mind has been weird because of work and getting up early, and it's racing and doing really stupid things. Okay, anyways, last thing that I want to kind of throw out there. So, with the artifact weapons, as great as they are, as much as everybody loves them and stuff, now, I'll say I haven't researched it as much as I could, but the artifact weapons themselves are essentially talent trees.
Yes.
Now, just looking at some of those stats on there, some of them are 3% extra damage to this, and 5% extra damage to that. I know you get to choose the path that you go, but the idea is by the end of the expansion, the entire thing's going to be filled out, right?
Right.
Okay.
I guess if you choose the right paths to get them, right?
Hopefully.
Well, it's like the sphere grid in Final Fantasy. Like, you're gonna, if given enough time and experience and points, you'll fill that whole thing up.
All right, so what you're saying is that I need to put in a Game Shark code and have everybody go through every sphere, and then if Orin uses Quick Attack, he just kills everything in his first 3 attacks.
Yes.
Okay.
Or like a scribe learning glyphs. Eventually you learn them all.
Oh, that's good too. Okay.
Yeah. Contains less Final Fantasy, so...
It's much better that way if it does. Yeah, well, I mean, that's one way that they can kind of break it up, is depending on which way people go first. You know, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it and you say, okay, how's my character feeling? Like, this is an area I feel weak in. I'll nudge my character in that direction first. Then you'll know you'll get around to it eventually, but, you know, you kind of pick a path and a direction you want to go in. I have one of the reasons that it's so hard for me to leave my monk is I like self-healing. Rogues are not notoriously good at self-healing, so
That one little trait,
there's a little
recuperation.
there's a little thing on there that helps with healing, and I was like, well, that's probably the direction I'll go first. Work towards that.
I know there was like I read the different talents on film, and I'm all, this fire mage thing looks really cool. This one looks, I'm doing that one first. I don't even remember what it was. All I know is that it's the bottom left one. It looks really cool for some reason. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I forgot that we actually had something like this in Draenor. Do you remember vaguely, as we were leveling up, we were getting these perks?
That's right. The random
Completely
perks.
forgot about them, yeah. And by the time you hit 100, you'll have them all, but...
Oh, yeah. That was kind of cool.
They were so insignificant that we forgot about them.
Yeah, well, you know what? If I remember correctly, I heard someone say somewhere that they're going away in the next expansion. I'm like, no, they can't do that. Because Flame Strike, it has like no cooldown. I can do that anytime I want now because I need an AoE as a fire mage. If they took that away, I would just be really mad. Really, really mad.
Heroes has completely ruined me. You say Flame Strike, and I just think, man, imagine if that applied Living Bomb, and then it spread to all targets that it hit when it blew up, and then you could just, lift them, and... Thinking a lot about Kael'thas, apparently.
Well, and I'll be running around with his sword, John, so what does that say?
You're a pretty cool guy, Ben.
Thanks. I'm gonna cut that out and keep it and turn it into a ringtone.
Just remind yourself every day.
One day John said this.
He said.
Yeah. Okay, so last but not least, what are you most looking forward to artifact-wise in Legion? Go, Autumnsbane.
Oh, most looking forward to the Windrunner bow.
Because it's cool?
Hands down. Well, I like bows as opposed to guns. I always mogged my guns into bows anyway. Mm-hmm. But the Windrunner bow, it's like I've always had a fascination for the three Windrunner sisters. And to finally get to see Illyria, that would be great.
Yeah.
But then I start looking at the nice pirate swords the rogues have, and then I start looking at the Scythe of Elune for my balance druid, and I'm afraid to look at them all, because then I'm going to want to have to roll like 36 characters. Don't want to do that. So I'm just thinking of the bow for now.
Okay, well that works.
You have no idea how bad I want to talk about the Windrunners, but I can't.
Well, I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of spoilers going around already.
I have so much I want to say on all the speculation and lies and my theories and some fears that I have, and I want to plead to Blizzard not to do a thing I think they might be doing. I don't know.
What, where Sylvanas turns them both undead?
I can't talk about it.
I don't know, I'm making stuff up. I haven't looked into any of that.
I know you haven't. I'm just saying I can't talk about
Otherwise,
it.
I wouldn't have said something like that, is what you're saying?
I really want to talk about it, though. Because every time I read one of those spoilers, I'm like, what are they doing?
Well, Sylvanas was at least thinking of turning Varisa into an undead from that last
from the
Christy
book.
Golden book. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, let's not talk about it.
I know. That's weird. Guys, Sylvanas is a great character, and she was awfully heroic for a good long time. Let's make her heroic again.
Well, hey, you've seen that opening cinematic. She's heroic.
In that cinematic, yes, but I don't know if that's going to stay the course.
Yeah.
Come on, do you really think she's going to stay, like, buddy-buddy with Varian? No, you were the first person to be like, she's going to ice him and raise him as an undead.
No, I didn't say that she would kill him. I said that she would raise him.
Oh, so you were just like, she's just... Oh, that's right, you said she's just hanging out with him because she's just like, maybe he'll just...
Maybe he'll just die. That'd be really great.
She just sees, like, a demon come up and smack him, and she's like, Varian, look out, after he's already been splattered on the ground.
Oh, no. It's attacking.
I don't know if I buy that. She seemed to be helping him pretty good. She could have probably, if she wanted him to die, she probably had plenty of opportunity to do so.
Sylvanas is always thinking like a chess player, many moves ahead. She's got her plans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we'll
she'll
find
outlive
out.
us all, hopefully.
We'll find out what it's gonna be,
Yeah.
whatever that might be. I am excited to find out.
So, John, same question. What of the artifact are you most looking forward to?
The rapier, like, however I get that, whether that is its default state or one I have to unlock. Hopefully, it's not PvP.
But you'll be a rogue again. So it'll be easier.
It will be easier, but like it is definitely the coolest of the options. So I'm like, oh, it needs to be that. That's the one it needs to be. So hopefully that's what it ultimately ends up being. But I like its style.
Gotcha.
What about you, Ben? What's your big artifact draw right now?
I don't want to say it because I know your reaction. So, first of all, I love the Fire Mage sword because it's Kael'thas's, and I love my little Ood fireball and everything, so that's great. But I gotta say, being a Mistweaver monk and having Shao Hao's staff, that's pretty cool. Like, that's really cool. Although getting it was horrible because I died a bunch because I didn't realize that when you choose Mistweaver, they have some intellect gear in your bag and don't automatically have it equipped on you, so that really sucked. I was healing with agility gear, John. It didn't work well.
Sounds like vanilla to me.
Yeah, pretty much. But the unlocking of both of them is actually really cool, and I gotta say, John, in the alpha, do the Fire Mage one because it takes you a place that's really cool, and I think it might be hinting at the expansion after Legion.
I know some of it. I've read a bit of what you do for the Fire Mage, but I'm gonna probably play through it. I want to play through a lot of them.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe.
I really want to do the Ashbringer one. I really want to do the Doomhammer one, mainly because I need to see how you get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm curious about as well.
Shaman aren't even playable now, I hear.
That's what I've heard.
I hear because I'm not in it.
Yeah, Blizzard said, Shaman, what are those? And then they said, oh, right. And now they've removed the class, and now they're going to work on it. Because they remembered they had a class in the game called Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I am curious about it. It was one of those that I was like, ooh, where does this come from? And then there's just nothing about it. And I was like, well, even when I want spoilers, I don't get them.
It is kind of funny that when you're in Dalaran, so this isn't really a spoiler because, one, it's the alpha and who knows, but Thrall and Agra and Little Draka are just standing by the well in Dalaran. They're just there. I'm like, hey! Try to talk to them, and they're like, bleh.
Don't talk to
And then Draka ran around. I'm like, no, come back, I want to talk to you. And
Thrall was just nothing. Like, want a hammer?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Cheap.
Thrall, I'm not even a shaman. That's cool. I'm getting rid of it. He looks over at Agra. Just take it.
That's where it came from.
You get rid of that hammer. You have to stay home and change diapers.
I mean, that's the big question of the expansion is where does all of this stuff come from? As a people, that tends to be a question we ask a lot. I get asked it all the time. People look at my shirt and they say, John, that's a fine shirt you're wearing. Where does that come from? And I said, this shirt, this Azeroth Roundtable t-shirt, complete with Murloc and microphone and text and vague logo-ness, why, it comes from /loot.com. All I had to do was go to the website, click on podcasts, find Azeroth Roundtable, and I got myself a shirt. You can get a shirt, Ace shirt.
It's an Ace shirt.
It is an Ace shirt.
We're gonna
from /loot.com.
We're gonna call things Ace if they're
Ace.
Awesome.
But if you say, John, I hear what you're saying, but I already have an Ace shirt. I need something else that's Ace. And I'm not talking about a deck of cards.
Oh.
I would say, well, you can go ahead and I don't know what words I'm looking for anymore, Ben. It's all falling apart. You can go to geekasylum.etsy.com. That's the website, and you can pick up the official Azeroth Roundtable keychain or necklace. It's definitely Aces, and it comes in 2 flavors.
Like cherry and vanilla?
Like Murloc and other Murloc.
Ooh, those are good flavors.
Double Murloc.
All the way.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
All right, chat room's giving me a B- for my ad tonight. Look, you know what? I've been laying down some quality grade A ads.
C+. Oh.
C+, it got better at the end, not worse.
Well, you did kind of lose your wording.
I did.
I'd be happy with a B- if I were you.
I was happy with a B-. They changed it to a C+. Look, we're doing all right.
Yeah.
And you could be doing all right in your very own Azeroth Roundtable t-shirt, available at slashloot.com. There.
Autumnsbane, thank you very much for joining us. It's been great, and I very much enjoyed your insights and opinions.
Well, thanks for having me.
That sounds
really
so
looking...
scripted. Why did I say that?
You mean it wasn't?
No, it wasn't at all. Oh, man. No, seriously, though. It was great having you on. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It was great.
So how can people find you?
So much enjoyed talking about Warcraft without my co-host saying, stick to Hearthstone.
Well, that is kind of the goal here.
That was no fear with Ben on the show. He would never say that.
Well... Anyways, Autumnsbane, how can people find you?
Our podcast, A Worthy Opponent, you can write to us at awohearthstone@gmail.com. You can find our podcast on Stitcher, Satellite Radio, iTunes, or all the usual places. HollowSweetMedia.com is our producer. That's the people who let us have a podcast, and so you can find anything you need to know about us there. And it's me, my wife, and co-founder Black Lace, and our partner from Down Under, Ugly Brute. We livecast every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're on Twitch, and it's easy to find us. Google just tells you everything, right?
Pretty much. It tells me things I don't even want to know. Not about your show, but other things. This got weird. John, how can people find you?
If you want to learn more about what I'm up to, you can follow me on Twitter at John_Jagger. You can check me out on this show like you just did. You can listen to me on Core, where I will talk about Heroes of the Storm, which, I managed to do a little bit in here. So, just FYI, I'm prepared for the downvotes on YouTube. I know what you're doing, people. I know every time I talk about Heroes, you give it a thumbs down. You're not going to train me not to do it. I'm aware of what you're doing. I don't care. But that show's all about Heroes of the Storm, Ben, and it's good times. That's part of the Frog Pants Network. That's me, that's Scott Johnson, that's Bo Schwartz. And last week, we talked about the final Experience Point show.
Yeah.
On the NVIDIA stream.
It did make me a little sad.
It is over. It did end. It ended in glorious duck fashion. And I miss it dearly. But in its place, from the ashes, I'm pleased to announce that tomorrow you can catch me on the Experience Point show.
Oh my god!
Which is now not a part of the NVIDIA stream, but we are going to carry it on. It's going to be from 12 to 2 or 3. I don't remember. Mountain Standard Time. Just come hang out. It starts at 12.
That's so much better for you, John.
And it's going to be great fun. More video game hijinks, and it's a really good time. But Ben, I'm not the only busy one.
No.
You have a calling. And that calling is...
pants. I don't know.
This is a big build-up to...
I don't know.
You let me down, Ben.
Okay, well, let's try that again.
I don't even remember what I said now.
Oh,
I'm just disappointed. Ben, what do you do?
That's stuff. If you want to follow me, I am on Twitter. I am at Ben the Mage. I also do a show with Ludra called Battle Pets. I do a show with Alakaz and Lita called Geektopia. We're on a tiny bit of a hiatus as life happens. But we will be back at some point. This show, however, you can always follow us on Twitter. We are at AzerothRT. If you have any questions, comments, want to tell John or me how much we are wrong or right, you can go ahead and email us at azerothroundtable@gmail.com. If you want to listen to past episodes, want to listen to this one over and over again, you can always go to azerothroundtable.com, iTunes, Stitcher, or TuneIn and listen to every episode that we have. I don't recommend the first few. They're kind of weird and old at this point. But they might not be the most current either. Try them out. Anyways, our intro contains music from Volatile Reaction by Kevin MacLeod, and you can find more of his music at incompetech.com.
Finger guns.
And
That's a show.
That is a show. Oh!
We did
it. Oh, thank you very much. That was a lot of fun.
You're talking to me.
Yes. No, I never
No, he
thank
doesn't
John.
thank me. No, I don't get
I
thanks.
wasn't sure if you were still rolling.
Well,
So,
I mean,
yeah,
we're streaming, but I'm not recording anymore. It's the
it was
post
a lot
show.
of fun. It was great. It's like I love talking about WoW, and the main reason I did a Hearthstone podcast is there were too many Warcraft podcasts out there.
There's never enough.
Yeah, it's just huge numbers.
Or you can
But,
just wait till Downer of an expansion and then they all disappear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of the podcasts I used to listen to just don't exist anymore. But there's always new ones popping up.
That is true.
So
Yep. Well, I'm going to cut the stream, though, because I have another show to record in a little
that's
bit
right.
here.
You got to go do another show again.
Yep, which, Ludra, I saw you in the chat room for a second, so...
Hopefully you're still awake.
Hopefully you're still awake, because I plan on recording. Anyways, chat room, thank you. You guys were awesome. Have a wonderful night, and we will talk to you guys next week.